Missio Mesa. I don't know if you know this or not, but God is up to some incredible things in our church. Not just in our church, but in our city. Not just in our city, but among our friends. It's fun to watch. So I want us to take a moment and just think through that. There is very often a spirit of critique that can come in our hearts. We often see what's wrong before we ever see what's right. We often see what's not working before we recognize all of the beautiful things that God is up to in our community. And so I want us to take a few minutes and just think through some of those things. I'm gonna give us 3 areas that I would love for you to spend some time this week journaling on. The first one is to consider, what is God up to in you? I know for many of us, this has been a year or a year and a half where we've pressed into some inward healing. A lot of our church has gone to some sort of therapy to process through their stories in light of the true story and in light of the traumas that we've experienced. And there is beauty in that, but slow down and recognize it. God is at work making not just the world whole, but you. Where have you seen healing this year? Where have you seen freedom? Where have you found yourself released from what used to oppress you to be able to more faithfully enjoy God and follow Him? To be able to actually slow down and abide in His goodness and His grace and His mercy and joyfully depend on God, your Father. Think about the things that you used to never think you would ever step into that you now do regularly. That might be as simple as hosting a friend over for dinner. That might be as simple as stepping out and saying hi to your neighbor. It might be as profound as you're reconsidering a vocation shift that's more in line with who you feel like God's called you to be. All of those are ways that He's growing you. Don't miss out on celebrating those. A second way that I'd love for you to consider this, not just what's He doing in you, but where have you seen Him at work in Missio? Like, think about it. Over the last 12 months or so, if you've only been around for a few weeks, use those 3 weeks. But where have you seen God at work in Missio? I've watched Him call and equip and fill up men and women for the role of preaching. That's been a super exciting thing for me to see, because that was one of my goals this year, was to be able to equip men and women to do the work of ministering to our family and communicating the word. And this year, we're watching that take place. Another thing that I'm really excited about is watching as people continue to dream up what are the gaps or what are the needs in our community and how can we be used to reach those. I love hearing people dream about what would it look like to serve with the Alice Cooper Teen Center? What would it look like to start new businesses? What would it look like to continue to equip men and women to take up their role in their vocations, not just in what we do here on Sundays or in our MCs, but every single day, to see more and more life in line with God's glory being poured out and His grace being experienced through the goodness of the work that we do. I love hearing those stories, and that's taking place all throughout Missio. I don't know if you've ever spent any time with our kids, but if you're back in that kids side teaching a lesson, something that I don't want you to miss is that our kids in Missio Mesa are being formed in the true story. There is a lot that I'm sure we're overlooking, and we continually look to grow and learn and experience. But hear this, our kids are being formed in the true story. Pull any one of them aside and ask them what God's like, what has He done, how is He a rescuer, how is He a healer, and they will give you stories as well as the story, and I love it. A third question that I'd give you to ask is, who are the people that God's using to stretch you right now? And this is part of the beauty. There's safety and celebration in what He's doing in us that we're already coming through. There's safety and celebration in recognizing that He's at work in us and then in our community. But ask this, who are the people that He's using to stretch you right now? That maybe their ideas or the way they look at the world, maybe the way that they interpret what's going on right now in our cultural moment, maybe the way that they have faith in a way that you long to stretch your own. Maybe it's that their mindset looks a little bit different and you're learning from them how to more accurately see what God is up to and who He is. Friends, our friends are part of what God's using to shape our faith. And I don't want us to miss that. Maybe it's a parent who you're watching shepherd their kids in light of the true story. Maybe it's another college student that you're looking at and being like, man, the way they engage on campus is something that I long to do. Maybe it's your MC leader and you're saying, I would love to lead an MC. Apprentice yourself to them. Be shaped by them. And then thank them. I think part of the work that we often forget is thanking our sisters and our brothers who are serving in a way that stirs up our own affections for Jesus. So that's just some things to think about. God's up to beautiful things. I think there's many more to come. Let us lean in with joy and anticipation for what He's gonna do in us, through us, around us, and in this place that we call home. Love you guys, and I'll see you soon.